Nasdaq-listed Criteo has launched a new system to deliver marketing across all digital devices. As consumers continue to transition to tablets and smartphones, Criteo helps marketers deliver more sales through personalised mobile ads in both browsers and apps. Well, for more on this, we're joined by Jeremy Crooks, who's Criteo's Managing Director in Australia. Just tell us firstly, what does Criteo actually do?
So we're an online advertising technology company, and we work with advertisers, so companies who want to sell their products and services to consumers, and also publishers, so website owners. The way that works with advertisers is we analyse all of the users that go to the advertiser's website against what they do on the website, their online browse behaviour, and about another couple of hundred other variables. And when the users leave the website, and we find them somewhere on the internet, we work out which of those consumers are most likely to do something that earns the advertiser some money. We serve them an ad, hopefully they click on the ad, they come back to the advertiser's website to finish the transaction and convert. On the publisher side, we work with the website owner to buy that ad inventory, the page impressions. And the way we try to work with publishers is we try to buy the highest quality inventory that we possibly can at the highest price. We do that because we know that if we find a high-value user or consumer for our advertiser on a high-value website, that tends to lead to a really good result for their advertiser and the publisher.
So one website that uses Criteo as domain. So just give us an example of how that has worked.
So we've launched mobile in international markets midway through last year. Clients like Domain have been using our mobile platform since late last year. And it's really an extension of the sort of service that we've been running on desktop for about the last sort of 10 years. So using powerful algorithms to determine user intent and to deliver personalised, targeted, customised advertising, but now on mobile devices. I think we've been working very closely with Apple to work out how we serve ads on iPhones and iPads. It's particularly relevant for Australia. I mean, Nielsen tells us that 47% of households now have a tablet device. In Australia, that's predominantly the iPad. So, a really important thing for us to get right.
Okay, and just in terms of, I guess, consumer reaction, obviously you're trying to follow up, as you said there. I mean, how successful is that, or do you find that you have, consumers reacting negatively perhaps to that? They have some privacy concerns.
I mean, privacy is a critical part of our business and really should be critical to any company operating within online advertising. The way we try to look at that is to give the consumer full transparency and control over whether they see advertising. And we've been at the forefront of some global initiatives like Ad Choices, so you'll see the Ad Choices logo in all our advertising. And that gives the consumer the ability to click on the logo and to opt out of any future advertising in real time.
And just in terms then too of the market at the moment, how are you finding it? Because it has been sluggish. I mean, we know digital obviously has had an enormous growth in terms of advertising off a low base. I mean, are you finding that at the moment it's difficult, or it's sort of hit a bit of a pause button, or how are you finding the market right now?
I mean, digital advertising is growing year on year, and if we look at mobile especially, the mobile advertising piece is growing at about 300% year on year. And I think really that's just a reaction to consumers using more digital devices to access the internet. In Australia, 17.5 million households or consumers now use the mobile devices to access the internet. So it's a really critical thing, and I think from an advertising point of view, you really need to make sure that you have a good mobile presence, you have a good mobile website, it's easy to use, it's consumer friendly, more importantly it's easy to transact on, and to make sure that you have your offline and online customer service really kind of linked up. And if you're not doing that, then there's some work to do. And I think if you're not doing that, then potentially your competitors are. And more increasingly, that's not just domestic competitors, that's large international organisations that are looking to come and already marketing in Australia to take market share.
And just in terms of how the Australian market differs to what you've seen elsewhere, are there any peculiarities about this market?
Well, we're not only living in an amazing country, we have a very engaged online consumers. So consumers in Australia have been using online for a long time. They're very knowledgeable, they're very sophisticated. They have more apps on their smartphones than any other country. They are high users of mobile social media. So I think really from an advertising point of view, you really need to make sure that the strategy is really aligned to the consumer path to purchase and what consumers are doing now.
What works best? Because, I mean, we've heard some saying, you know, banner advertising, it doesn't work. I mean, what do you think from the research you've done? What works best to sort of nab consumers?
Yeah, I think the key kind of consideration is relevancy. So, you know, advertising has to be relevant, and it has to be at the cornerstone of any return on investment, ROI-driven kind of marketing and advertising strategy. I mean, Google have built a multi-billion-dollar business on trying to use huge amounts of data to be as relevant as possible. So when you and I go to Google and we type in a search query into the search engine, all of that information is used to then try and determine what do we really mean by that search query. And therefore, to be able to try and offer the most relevant ad against that, that search query, Google knows that the higher the relevancy of the advertising, the better the result for the consumer and ultimately the advertiser as well. And we're trying to really do the same sort of thing in display advertising. So trying to use data to make those ads really customized and tailored. I think if any advertiser is not really using the depth and breadth of information that they've got about consumers to really customize and target the messaging towards the advertiser, towards the consumer, then they're really missing out. And the way that we try and think about that is we try and think about, you know, which is the right ad to deliver in terms of content and the offer and the promotion to the right user, so the level of intent needs to be high at the right time, so the website that we find them on, and now across the right device. And I think if we put all that together, then we kind of get out of the John Wanamaker sort of mindset of the 50% of my advertising budget is wasted, but I'm not too sure which 50%. You know, we're now in a position where we absolutely know how to target consumers, where to really drive investment to get the biggest return. So we're trying to really make sure that we're maximising revenue at scale for advertisers.
Are you finding Australian businesses are recognising that yet, or is it still quite slow?
No, I think Australian businesses have been very focused on their own business, and digital has kind of come around over the last sort of 10 years. Mobile especially has really come to the forefront over the last couple of years. So I think the challenges of business overall in trying to target consumers across all of the different channels now it is a challenge. And they really have to think about it in a consumer-centric sort of way. So in terms of prioritisation, you know, where are consumers spending the most amount of their time online, and on what devices are they using to do that?
It's been really interesting to hear about today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Jeremy Crooks there from Criteo. Well, that's all we've got time for on Tech Report.